very excited to bring you something brand new. We have jewels.
Jewel dazzles, right?
Jewel dazzles, and they come in lots of colors. And again, like so many things, it's wonderful what you can do with them.
And what I like about them is, like, unlike rubies and emeralds, these jewels are much more affordable.
She checked that out for you. So come play with us and jewels. Okay, here are jewels. Ooh.
Sparkly.
Yes, sparkly. And so the jewels that are circular are all of these. So silver, red, blue, purple, teal, green, pink, gold. And then our red hearts.
Very cute.
Isn't that pretty? Now, the thing that is one of the other things that's wonderful is that with the jewels, there are 540 on one sheet.
Wow.
That's the affordable part you were talking about.
Exactly.
And they are in 3 different sizes.
They've got that wonderful holographic sheen to them.
And you know, I must confess something. When I see dazzles in holographic, it kind of overwhelms me, and I feel like, gosh, I'm not sure. But in the little pieces, that's what's really wonderful.
Right.
And with dazzles, of course, you're going to get a couple of ideas on each of the headers. And so speaking of that, let's get into ideas.
Okay.
So we'll get into this first one. And here is the dazzles. First of all, the jewels used in the center of the flower. This is a felt flower.
Right. And what has she done with the border here?
That's what I think is so amazing. And Lene discovered this, that she could use the backing. In fact, you want to pull the dazzle sheet. And so the backing is going to be the part that's left. Let me see if I can pull this up quickly. And what you'll get is, of course, a whole bunch of holes. But what she discovered is that those holes make some very fun borders.
Oh, so waste not, want not.
Absolutely. Use every piece of that. So this time we're not talking about innies. I guess we're talking about outies.
Outies.
Still belly buttons, I think.
Not the car, though.
But what is done here, if we can get in close, is that she's placed a smaller jewel into the circle, so it's left kind of a mat around it of our paper.
That's really neat.
So that's neat. She's also dotted the eye of high.
Clever.
And then what I love is the swirl that she's created there.
That is really pretty.
So a lot of techniques on that one little tag, or that one little card. That's a smaller card. Now here she's done the scallop punches, because Lene loves those punches, and put a dazzle into each of the scallops. But then on this border of cherries, she's backed each one with the larger jewel.
How perfect that the jewels fit inside
Isn't that
the cherries.
neat? I'd love to tell you that that was all planned, but not necessarily.
It's still a great idea.
It is still a great idea. Here's actually a better example of that swirl. And you have the template that was used for that?
I do, the Swirly Doodles template.
And that's a template that is not brand new, but it is one of our most popular. And so on this, in fact,
Looks
probably,
like she's used this one.
let's see, has she? Which one?
This one right here.
Yeah, so that she just traced onto her card and then just placed each of the jewel dazzles on top.
Right, and I like how she's used the larger ones in the middle of the swirl and the smaller ones on each end.
Gives a little more movement to it, doesn't it?
Right.
And then in the center of this butterfly, this is out of our Butterfly and Dragonflies template, and you can also see them on the tips of the antenna.
So cute. So she's got the tiny ones for the body and a larger one for the head.
And then
up
she's
here.
cut them in half for that
Wow.
border. Isn't that clever?
She's come up with so many great ideas.
Has. Now here's a great example of the border, just a big piece of it used, or the backing to be used as a border. And so that's been done.
Very
Here's
cute.
another flourish. Now this is on next to a foil, our foil paper. And
More swirls.
there's this is just an empty border, but again, just very, very...
It's still very striking.
It is, isn't it? Right in the center. Now you can also do them in the lighter color. Here we've got the pink. And then if you want to really jazz up your dazzles,
Ooh,
look at
wow.
that. Isn't that pretty?
Look at that dragonfly.
Isn't that something? So the body has the smaller ones, the head a larger,
I love the gold and the pink mixed.
Isn't that pretty? Now you can also use them simply. I thought this was really effective with pergamano. Now, pergamano is such a delicate, pretty look, lacy look, and yet the jewels just add a bit of bling.
It's just the right amount. It's not too overpowering.
Isn't that pretty? So, not just for cards.
Not just for cards?
Not just for cards. Let's
what else do we got?
Bring in a wonderful scrapbook page. Now, let's get in, as you see it there, but it's a little hard to see from afar, so we're going to.
Hard.
Yeah, you
I
can.
mean, in person it looks really blingy, but.
It does. So, well, you can first of all see that border and how effective that is on each side. A little corner treatment,
Very
which I thought
cute.
was nice. And then you can see the swirls, and I love how they interact with the paper. This is the Time for Fun paper.
Yeah, and then along the left border, they've just scattered the jewels amongst the gears.
Right.
So they kind of match up.
So they've got jewelly gears.
Right. They made the gears metallic.
They did, yes. So it's just very, very useful. Now you've got some 3D projects that were done with the jewels.
We'll slide these in.
Okay. Now here is the microscope slides. This is the 2-inch. And this was done with the etching cream.
Etching cream and the heart dazzles.
And
I mean, the larger
right.
heart dazzles.
And then we've got the jewel dazzles just embellishing them. And you can see how pretty that is.
It was pretty simple to do, but it makes a nice effect.
It does, doesn't it? And that's, you know, that's work. You know, I hadn't mentioned this before, but I kind of think of them as flat crystals.
Oh, yeah.
So they're going to give that shine and that bling, but they do remain flat.
Right, so easier to mail.
It is easier to mail, yeah. And there you have one of the glass ornaments, again etched, but highlighted with the jewels.
Just at the tips, right.
And speaking of highlighting, here is the plastic ball. And I'm kind of sorry, this is this little butterfly. Anne, you did this, and you put 2 of the 3D butterflies back to back.
Right, and then I completely covered the wings with stickles.
And you need to let that dry overnight, or someone is liable to come in and put her finger in it. Sorry,
right,
Anne.
Paulette.
Sorry, Anne. You're really getting the highlights of our cameras. But what you've done here is you've taken the jewel dazzles and created uneven lines going down.
And if you look at the bottom, you can kind of see the little starburst design.
Oh, beautiful. Very, very fun. Okay, so
one thing I do want to mention with the dazzles is that when you're picking them off the back, you're going to want to use an X-Acto knife. And I just place my finger over the tip of it when I pick it off so that it doesn't pop off, because
there are a lot of them.
Yeah, because they're so tiny.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is our jewel dazzles. Now we're going to get into our heart jewel dazzles.
All right.
And let's see what we have for that one. Okay, here are some of the projects that are on the headers. This is just another great example of simple uses in the center on top of a brad, on top of the brad at the top.
Very cute.
But look at that border. That is...
Wow.
So again, it's taking the backing material but putting a smaller heart jewel in the center of it.
There's so many different things you can do with one sheet.
There is, and you've got plenty of them.
Yes.
I love the exclamation point. I think that's very fun. And then here is an alternate border of the hearts.
Cute.
And again, on the hearts, like the jewels, you get multiple sizes. On the hearts, you get multiple sizes, but you get multiple shapes.
Right.
So you've got this kind of primitive heart as well as the kind of chubby heart.
Classic, yeah. Very cute. Here's a card, which is one of my favorites.
How fun. Now that is a dazzle. Actually, first of all, that's our lovely labels.
Yes.
And our coffee and tea dazzles. Very fun to have those hearts.
As the steam.
And then you warm my heart.
That is adorable.
That is just so sweet. And then inside, this is sending you warm and cozy wishes this Valentine's Day or for a birthday.
I would love to receive that card.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can do about that. Make your wishes known.
We've got a heart-shaped glass bottle here.
Oh, look at this.
It's just beautiful.
So this has got a combination of, this is the Valentine Dazzles. Well, first of all, this bottle was painted with alcohol inks, the red and the gold.
Gold mixatives.
Yeah, and then that one, and then the jewel dazzles around it, and then the heart dazzles right in.
That is dazzling me right now.
That is, isn't it? And around the lid, there is a circle of heart, because there's a border up there.
Oh, right, on the Valentine dazzles.
And then there is the excess material, beautifully used.
And then she's got the memory thread curled around the neck of the bottle.
Beautifully.
And even more dazzles on top of that, so.
That's
So
just perfect,
cute.
isn't it? There we go. We've got a Be Mine on the top.
And here is an adorable little mini pail.
This is the smallest pail, and you can really see what just those little bits of the dazzles will do, not only the hearts, but also the jewels going right around. This is the new swirls and flourishes.
You know, they say good things come in small packages.
Do they say that?
This is a small package.
And I love the felt, but I like the shine with it.
Yeah.
It just adds such a nice.
It's a good contrast.
So we have hearts, we've got jewels, and we've got glitz to put everywhere.